think depression it's such a difficult thing when people are struggling with it. Because when we're depressed, it's almost as if, this very heavy mind state has penetrated our being. It's covered our being. And it's very difficult to see clearly when we're depressed. And so one of the most helpful things we can do while we are depressed, if depression has come into us, one of the most helpful things we can do is to exercise, is to be active, is to get out there and move your body, move your mind. And for me, what I've found specifically in the realm of exercise, the most helpful thing we can do is to practice yoga. Hands down, I found it's by far the most helpful thing we can do. Of course, there's all kinds of things, just going outside, getting sunlight, going on long walks. And the big things with depression is can you give yourself permission not to believe your own thoughts? Not to believe in this heaviness, which it feels like we are carrying around. The thing that happens in depression is when this cloud of energy, this mind state that comes forward, whatever it is, the fundamental error that we all make is we believe it. We think it's the truth. We believe all the thoughts that go along with depression. And as soon as you believe those thoughts, you suffer. If we just stand back from depression and look at it from a place of mindfulness, we can ask, where am I losing energy? Because if we really look at depression, it's almost like there's a hole within our being, a hole within our consciousness. And we're just losing a tremendous amount of energy out of our body. And when we lose energy, we don't want to get out of bed. We don't want to move. We feel as if, life is hopeless. We're deeply struggling. And so I like to look at this thought of where is it that I'm losing energy? What is it that I'm believing that's draining energy from my being? And so oftentimes what I find is when we come in, when we sit down, and we begin the therapeutic process, we begin to ask this question, what thoughts am I believing that just simply aren't helpful? And this takes a great deal of humility, because when we're depressed, it's hard for us not to believe our story. When we're depressed, it's hard for us not to believe that it is true that we are a victim of life. When we believe that we're a victim of life, we are, in a sense, powerless. We're losing tremendous energy. There's nothing we can do. And so part of the way of getting out of depression is really about us remembering our power, remembering our truth, gaining our power, walking towards power. And by that I mean we may have to let go of our story of how we are a victim. We may have to let go of our story of how life has done this to me, how my mother did this to me, how my father did this to me, how my boss or my second grade teacher or whoever it was that harmed us, that hurt us. And we may have to let that story go. But in order for most of us to let it go, we have to be willing to grieve that the thing actually happened. That yes, our father was abusive. Our mother was unavailable to us and abandoned us at a young age. We may have to admit that truth fully and grieve it fully. When we are willing to grieve it fully, the energy of the pain, it actually leaves our body and we find ourselves empowered again. Empowered because we are willing to be big enough to 1, let go of the story, 2, embrace it, and 3, to move forward. And so the way out of depression is through embracing the very thing that we feel victimized by. And that's a difficult thing for most people. It's a difficult thing for any of us when we are a victim to grow into this other thing that we are, which is a manifestation of God, a manifestation of beauty and intelligence. And so yes, it's a difficult thing. But if we find ourselves not even able to get out of bed, We find ourselves deeply stuck in life. And the first question we should be asking ourselves is, what thoughts am I believing that aren't helping me in this moment? And am I courageous enough to let go of my own story, of how something, of how life has harmed me? As soon as you let go of the victim story, you begin to become empowered again. This is absolutely necessary if we want to begin to walk forward out of the fog of depression.